Joey, if I could have Jordan as my co-host, you'd be dumped.
I'm not shocked by that comment. I mean, I'll take it. And by the way, I mean, I'm humbled by that, and I would easily back out if he was willing to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what we would talk about, but I know it'd be super cool, and I would just sit back and just let him riff. I'm using the word riff. I've used the word riff now, I think 2 or 3 times in the last 45 minutes. That's what it takes whenever you're spending time around like a music producer, somebody in the music biz, if you will.
Yes. By the way, can we give some context here, Russ?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah,
when you say this guy's a music producer, songwriter, like, help me, like, put some edges on that.
Well, because Jordan didn't want to do it when you asked him that question. You want me to put guardrails on it? You want me to be like, this guy has produced with Garth Brooks, right? Like he's been like Disney, Apple, Toby Mac, you name it. Like
Well, hold on. Give more detail to the Apple thing. Like, what specifically? How would people know Jordan's work if they had an iPhone? Let's say.
Yeah. Well, if you've ever had your kids show you how to use your iPhone. And you're in the little photos part, there's a little button there that says for you. If you go click on your photos, then you hit the for you part. It brings up this section about memories. And whenever you do that, basically your iPhone will have created like a little video of probably like a time where you are at somewhere. And then the music that goes along with that, it will ask you whether you want it to be like gentle or happy or uplifting. Well, it doesn't matter which one you choose. You're choosing Jordan Critz's music. Like that's the guy that we're interviewing today on our podcast. An amazing guy, somebody who we've gotten to know over the last 2 to 3 years, somebody who's in our passive income mastermind. Many of you have asked us about what wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/club200 is. It's a passive income mastermind where amazing people, very talented, unlike myself and Joey, get to participate and help each other grow as investors. And today we got a chance just to interview Jordan to talk a little bit about his story, how he's using passion income to fuel his passive income.
The big takeaway for me, Russ, is that when you really know what you're passionate about, you will utilize passive income to allow you to stay focused on what's the most important. Like that's the thing I love about Jordan is he is a man who is completely focused in on what he is meant to give to this world. And he said that several times. Like the music isn't his, it's literally essentially God's gift to the world through him. And I love that he knows that about himself and that he has used our process to get to a point where he can continue to produce at the highest of levels so that people can be blessed by the music he produces. That's just amazing.
Well, here's another takeaway before we get into this interview with Jordan. It was funny. I was asking Jordan some questions about things like infinite banking, right? Talking about some of the investment opportunities that he's taken part in as being a part of the member of the mastermind and just meeting people and understanding who his investor DNA was so that he could figure out those things for himself. I love it that he doesn't he's like, there's things that I know and there's things that I'm learning. But I think there's oftentimes this chilling effect that we have where we think that we have to have all the information. We have to have 100% of it. We've said this before that no, you need to have at least 40% of the information to make a decision according to Colin Powell, right? But any more than 70, you are just postponing your progress. You're postponing your success. You have to take imperfect action. And I love it that Jordan, like he's been learning and continues to learn, but he didn't have it all figured out. So as you listen to Jordan talk about the things that he's gotten involved in, some of which he really knows a lot more than he gives credit to. But I think it's just funny, right? I think that's where we are, that this podcast, this community, this mastermind exists to help you to become a more well-rounded investor. And no matter where you are, there's an opportunity for you to get plugged in. So Jordan just shared that so well. I want to get to his story, Joey. So let's not take any more time away from this interview with Jordan Critz.
Welcome to the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. your guide to understanding how to get out of the Wall Street rat race and start your own mailbox money lifestyle. Now, don't let these handsome Southern draws fool you. These financial minds are teaching our country to enhance savings, increase cash flow, and create passive income, all without the help of Wall Street. Are you ready to break through? Now here are your hosts, Russ Morgan and Joey Murray.
Welcome into the show, guys. We have one of our passive income mastermind members, one of the founding guys, joining us today, Mr. Jordan Critz. Jordan, so glad to have you, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Lots of fun to get to talk with you. There's lots of times we get talented and interesting people on the podcast, but your talent level is at a whole new realm for us, right?
You're bringing the average up significantly. I'm going to say that.
Jordan is many things, and I don't even want to try to put you in a box. I'm going to let you tell the audience a little bit about your background.
Oh, man. I hate talking about myself. I don't know what many things means, but I love music, and I've always done music. That is my passion. It was always the way that I kind of saw the world and could explain it. And yeah, the way I processed. And I've just literally done that since I was little, and I never really veered off course. Never thought I would make any money in it. So that's a whole nother thing, good and bad. Yeah, so I'm mostly in film and TV. I'm a producer and songwriter and composer. And a lot of the songs you'll hear at the end of TV shows, like during season finales, I help write and produce those. Songs you hear in trailers, songs you hear middle of films. And then I put out a lot of instrumental music. Yeah, I'm just kind of everywhere. It's just
wait, Jordan.
Yeah.
You can't just say that. You can't just say like films or like TV shows. Like you have to say which ones those are, because then people
give us a few. You know how many TV shows there are out there?
Are we talking like The Simpsons? Are we like what are we talking about?
Man, if
give us a couple examples.
You heard the music. I mean, it's been on like every network. Honestly, I don't have time to watch TV shows. And I think most of them are trash. Even the ones with the music on it, So I actually don't really watch when they're on there. But yeah, it's just a lot. I mean, just a lot of them. A lot of them.
Well, so it's clear to say that this is something that Joey and I have talked about before. You're working within your passion. And a lot of times we talk to people who are not necessarily passionate about what they're doing. Their passion is to get out of what they're doing. And so they're seeking passive income to get out of their job. But for you, that's like happened in reverse. So I really want to kind of break down that story, right? Because you've been working within a passion income space and have done an amazing job. So yes, go to jordancritz.com. You can see just a touch of what Jordan's talking about. I'm fascinated by the many things that you've done, because we were sitting at your house. We did our passive income retreat last year there in Nashville. Was sitting at your place, and you just pulled up this list of names of artists that you've worked with. And I'm like, oh, wow. Those are people that, I've listened to. Oh, here's TV shows. And it's like, oh, yeah, those are shows that we've watched. I mean, it's pretty amazing the number of things you've been able to do. And through all of that, you were able to create something that many of us don't even really know about. We've heard about, which is like musical royalties. Talk a little bit about like how that has transpired as you continue to grow in the business. Like, what does that even look like? How does someone receive musical royalties? Because I'm sure Joey and I have played many musical things in our past that didn't pay anybody, at least that we didn't know.
Yeah, for sure. And without going into too much detail about how it works, I mean, I'm more of in the space of licensing. And so whatever I create, people will license it. So in a way, what I'm creating is like a product. I don't like to think of it as a product, but it is a product. And I own it. And then, movies or TV shows or trailers or whatever, they'll license it to use it. So it's really all licensing. So it's almost like you're creating a product that you never reorder. You make it once, and then people will license that song, however many times. I mean, I've had songs that have been licensed thousands of times. And it's just, I've never, the song is just the song. And so you get paid. I mean, there are different ways to do it, but when they license it, they basically pay you a master sync fee to, synchronize it, on their show or whatever. And then you get royalties on the back end. If it's a syndicated show, the royalties are different. It's like every time it's played. But like when I do work with someone like Disney and I compose for them, they do a full buyout. They don't want to license anything. They want to own everything. So every company is very different in the way they structure the deals. And for me, it's just a matter of, is it worth it? Is it worth my time? Is it something I'm really excited about? So I honestly, I didn't even know what licensing was. I just created music because I loved it. And so one of my friends back in Texas, he started this company called The Music Bed, and I was one of their first artists. And he basically found this niche of so many filmmakers and people that were wanting to license, quality music. And so I didn't, honestly, I just had music out there and I started getting checks and I was like, this is interesting. I mean, I never did this for money. I mean, never. I still don't really. And so, yeah, so I started to learn more and more about it. But what I didn't realize is I was creating this huge catalog of songs that were being used. And honestly, I was just having fun with it. I feel very fortunate in a way. I'm not a huge business guy in that sense. I don't think of art as like this thing where, I gotta make more and then, build this thing. I was honestly just doing what I loved and in a way kind of fell into it.
Well, so Jordan, I love the way you speak about your work. Everybody can tell you're passionate about it and it doesn't feel like work. Like as you're talking about it, it just feels like you're creating value to the world and you're getting paid for it. And it's just this beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But you're on a show talking about passive income. And so I'm just naturally going to just throw this out. Like, where does passive income even fall for you? Like, why is that even important if what you're doing is so much in line with who you are and what you're passionate about?
That's a great question. So I think one of the worst things that can happen is have your passion be your main source of income. It can also be good for some people, but on the whole, I think it really messes things up because say I start making music and then I had a few songs get on some big things and start making money. Well, the first inclination is to be like, oh, this is amazing. I'm just going to do that again, And so you almost start changing your art for commerce, and it is I've seen it happen to so many friends. And then you end up looking years down the road and whatever, this gift God has given you to see the world and speak in a way that only you can say it in, that can become honestly warped, I think, because then you're using your art as a vehicle for commerce. And my kind of North Star always is never change your art for commerce, but make the best art you can make and then find where it intersects commerce. And so for me, I was making money and I had this feeling of man, and I mean, the industry is oh, just do this and feed the machine and you can make, it's the whole thing. And it's like the carrot, that dangles that all of us are I think I know how to do this. And you start to feel burnout. And if you reach burnout, I think that's one of the worst things that can happen. If you burn out your natural ability, your skill set, your gifting, that to me is hell, So for me, I wanted to, in a way, purify that. And so I wanted to figure out basically how to get my passive income, my income that was coming from music, how I could take that. And I needed other avenues that had nothing to do with music because I was feeling this pull to kind of create music to feed the machine. And art is one of the most powerful forces in the world. And I didn't want to use it for that. I don't think it's supposed to be used for that. there can definitely be a balance. And so and that's kind of when I met Russ, and I was like, man, I want to figure out how to basically take what I'm making in music, put it in other things. So I really think about music as this thing that is more art and not, a conduit for only commerce.
Well, I mean, what you're saying, we don't have music as our thing, right? But we would listen and watch many different books and
have you heard, Jordan, have you heard Russ sing?
Is this going to be the day?
I don't know if we should do it. Like, I don't want our ratings to plummet, but just when he says music isn't our thing, I just want to clarify. Like,
hey,
it is,
Joey,
it's concerning. It's Joey, not.
Jordan got off the bus on the way from downtown back to the house. He did not ride with us to hear my karaoke. So,
I missed it.
I'm so grateful because he would have never taken this interview. I'm just going to say it.
No, it was so good because it was so bad. That's the beauty of it.
I'm sorry, I had to clarify. Go ahead.
But the book, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, talks a lot about how someone's passion, when it becomes the only thing, is basically what you were saying, Jordan. And you could burn out on that thing. Then how terrible is that? I watched my wife do that. My wife is a dentist, right? Like, her art was dentistry, and she loved that until it became that she had to do it to the level where trading it for income and had all the other things that went along with it, and it burned her out. Now, 100%. Now we sold her practice, and she gets asked the question all the time, like, hey, when I know you're doing the homeschool thing, but when the kids are gone, you going to go back and do dentistry? And she's like, never. Right. Like, cause she's burned. She's like, I'm toast. I don't want to do that. So I love what you're saying there, is that creating another stream of income prevents you from having to feel the burden of passion income.
Yes. 100%. That's it.
So talk to us a little bit about passion income and passive income. So passive income is one of those things that usually gives two different things. Either it gives financial security, or it gives this peace of mind, time freedom. For you, where does that fall?
I mean, honestly, it's both. I love the security aspect of it, but I just, for me, it's about time, and it's about freedom in that way. It always has been. I think, time is money for sure, but also, like, energy is money, and like inspiration and all of that. So yeah, I had taken a bunch of songs, and basically did a partial catalog sale recently. And I kind of viewed that as, one, investing it to start other income streams, but two, just to buy time. I really see it more, I think, in a time standpoint.
Talk a little bit about that. You mentioned a catalog sale. Joey's purchased many, magazine catalogs, but he's never really gotten involved in sales of catalogs like what you're talking about from a music standpoint.
Yeah.
So is that just like where you take a handful of songs and stuff like that you've licensed that are bringing in revenue as people are licensing those songs, and then you just sell those off in a big chunk or something?
Yep. That's it. That's exactly it. I mean, there are a lot of intricacies within that. But yeah, you basically just say, hey, these are songs that they've done their thing for, 7 years or whatever. And a company comes along and wants to acquire. I mean, there are companies out there that acquire catalogs and, for their income streams. And, but I was just in a place that I felt like I wanted a chunk to be, and for one thing, I don't ever really think of art as mine anyway. I feel like I'm just part of the creation. I'm maybe just like the person to like help birth it into the world, and then it's there. And so it didn't feel weird for me to be like, hey, yeah, like I'll sell it, because it's not, I don't know, I just don't feel like it's mine anyway. I'm just a part of the process. And so I got the chunk of capital, and then I invested in a few different things. So yeah, that's basically how I figured out how to start some income streams, and I'm, still doing that. And yeah.
I just read this comment. It was so drawing, Joy. I wanted to share it. I realized that my time is not really mine. It's my company's. Now I have to stop negotiating my time for money, and I need to start working to become financially free.
That's exactly how I felt when my daughter Adler asked me on the way to school, Dad, can you pick me up from school today? And I had to say, no, baby, I have to go to work. That's where I drew the line.
In order for you to be clear on the things you need to do and stop doing, and to know who you need to become so that you can stop trading time for money, join us right now at wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/passport.
Now let's get back to this episode. Let me ask you this. So once you got to that point, how did you start to make decisions about what would be a good fit for you to replace that income?
I talked to Russ. Yeah, I looked into a few different things, but I mean, you guys were huge helps with that, because I'm not a big investor. I think I have business sense, but I'm not like, I don't sit around and read like business things ever, and I know it's some of my friends' passion. It's an amazing art form in a way, but for me, it's just, I was like, hey, I need some help. And so yeah, I sat down with Russ and we looked over a lot of different options, and and it's probably something I'll do every, 5 or 10 years. I've already built up another catalog. And so, yeah.
Well, what I love about this, Joey, real quick, let me jump in here. Quit talking, man. let me have a try here.
I think Russ has been shooing away his dog or something.
I have been, right? So, if I wouldn't have put down the shade, he would have been back there in the window. He's just been coming over here, and I've been like, just beat him. Get out of here, man.
I know.
But here's the thing about this is, and we talk about this all the time, Joey, is that there's 3 steps, right? There's you got to have a clear goal. You have to know what you want. And Jordan and I spent time talking about what that was. And I've heard you say this before via a friend, is that you said, I helped you dream. I'm really curious for you to tell Joey what that means.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to remember when I said that. No, no, honestly, I think the context was that I felt like if I can replace the income that I was using through music, because I was feeling like, oh, now I have to use music to like keep feeding the machine. If I could replace that income, then that could kind of help me dream again of like, okay, now like I don't think about the songs. I don't think about the metrics, what they're doing. And I can literally just go back to why I started music in the first place, and really for the love of it. And in a way, I think if you approach music in that way, or any art, it's going to, like on a soul level, I feel like it's going to be more powerful than if you're just trying to make something and manipulate it, for economic purposes.
Totally. Well, and I think the second part to that too is we spent time trying to understand you as an investor. Like, what is it? We talk about this in the plan portion of our 3-step process. So you got to have a crystal clear goal. Then you have to set a plan. And in that plan, you have to know who you are as an investor. And just thinking through, like, what is it that you and your wife, Kristen, what is it that you guys wanted? But also, what are the things you didn't want to have to do, right? So you wanted stability. You wanted things that would happen automatically, that wouldn't take energy. As you said a second ago, time's money, energy is money.
Yes.
And finding opportunities that you connected to. So like when you knew who you were as an investor, the opportunities that go along with that become that much easier, right? Like you didn't have to go look at 100 different options, because you knew, I'm looking for things that are going to be stable, that are going to be simple, that are going to be proven, that are going to be repetitive, right? Like no reason to reinvent the wheel. Like you have a real talent that allows you to go create art and create royalties from that, that then could be sold, and you can keep repeating the income from something else. You don't need that. Like you need something safe. But one of the first things that we did within that plan part, which I'm really fascinated for you to kind of share this with us, is that we took time to find a good place for your cash to reside. And our audience from time to time hears us talk about the concept of infinite banking. and
Right.
the place that our cash needs to go before it goes somewhere else. Talk a little bit about your understanding of that and how has that played into your part to creating more passive income?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, real quick on that topic, the idea of how I wanted to invest for me, it was I wanted personally something. If I'm going to invest in anything else, I want that to actually take something off of my plate and not add anything to it. So everything that we talked about was it has to be completely passive, and I will be glad to pay a percentage for people to run it. And so, yeah, the infinite banking is what I understand about infinite banking is, I'm just kidding. Uh, it's so like, it's so intense. I started reading the book and then I was like, oh, man, my head's going to explode. But that's why I have guys like you that I really trust. But yeah, honestly, it has been a good thing to do that. Do you want to talk about what we did specifically, or just with infinite banking?
No, I mean, I'd love for you to share whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, we definitely did a good amount in there to kind of build up the cash value, and then I've actually used some of that for other investments, so that can just kind of grow on its own, and you get a higher return on investment, and then you end up paying it back. And so we did that. We did some ATMs. I bought real estate homes. I did land flipping. I've done some private lending for house flipping, crypto. I'm part of a mining operation. I honestly don't even remember. I would have to just pull up my sheet. That's how much I like am involved in that. So
You're gonna have to create your own passive income report the way Joey and I do. That's the way we get to remember what it is that we report on it every month, and it 100%. Reminds us, and we start looking through our list and going, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that thing."
Yeah, 100%. And I still have, from streaming, I've got, royalties from streaming. So I ended up, I started about 8 different streams. So, they perform differently, but I want to just keep going because to me, it's really fun. And I don't know, I wanted to be a good steward of it, and I wanted to be wise with it. And typically I wouldn't have learned all this stuff. I think it should all be taught in schools, but it's not. And I wouldn't really taught much of that. And so it's been fun process learning it, but it's also been like, okay, I need to learn some of this stuff, so well, I'm just like a kid that likes to play piano.
I love that. And so what is it? What was it about the passive income? I've seen this seems like a natural segue into the passive income mastermind as an outlet for you to continue to learn these things. But what was it about the passive income mastermind that attracted you, that you were like, yes, in fact, you guys can even hang out at my house for your first retreat? Like, that was super generous of you to be willing to do that. What was it for you?
I really love the community of it. Just a bunch of people, guys trying to figure out, how to be good stewards of the money, and outside of the kind of the Wall Street thing. And for me, since I don't study that stuff all the time and I don't have time to, I know what I'm good at, what I want to put my time to, what I don't. And so really the only way to know it was to be in community with guys that were doing it, that I could also learn from. They could learn maybe a couple things from me, but it was really just me kind of hearing what everyone's doing, if you want to learn how to do investing, hang out with guys that are doing investing, and don't just Google how to invest. So yeah, to me, it just made perfect sense. Some of the things I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about. And then some of the things I'm like, that sounds awesome. Let's go. Let's look into this. And so it's cool because it's just it's varied. And honestly, that's what I really like about it. It seems more exciting, than just talking about Roth IRAs and whatever. I don't even know what those do, but
yeah, nobody does, by the way. That's the
the
beauty
worst.
of this, right? Like you a second ago when you were like, you gave me the big zero, and you're like, you know what I know about infinite banking? Zero. Like if you really want to know what everybody knows about their Roth IRA, the answer is really zero. They know so little. And it is important, right? I'm glad that you're saying that. Like we say this a lot. We're just repeating what Robert Kiyosaki says when he talks about there's no good or bad investments, it's just good or bad investors. And our goal, right, within the Passive Income Mastermind is to help make you a more well-rounded investor. And I know that that's not your jam, like completely, even though it is. I watch you, man. You're a heck of a student, and you're somebody that wants to do everything with greatness, and whether it's music or this. And that's our goal, right? Passive Income Mastermind is an opportunity for community. It's an opportunity for us to learn from other highly successful people from all different industries. And everybody comes in there with the talent that someone else could glean from, right? And like your ability to have networked with Disney and with Apple and with all these other music labels. I mean, you've been around business and have successfully navigated that at the highest of level, right? So there's things that you know that can be beneficial to people in that room. But also, like you said before too, you know that your passion is music, and you don't want to, water that down by focusing, by making that the sole way that you make money, even though it
100%.
does create passive incomes from the royalties. But even with that, you can kind of start to feel like, oh, maybe my royalties are going down. I better start kicking up some more songs and stuff. So sure. I love the fact that you're learning how to be a more well-rounded investor, and that's the purpose of the Passive Income Mastermind. So I know we're running out of time here, and Joey and I just love hanging out with you. Could do this all day, but I know you got cooler things to do. There's some sort of TV show that you're never going to watch that needs a song from you, so I know you need to get to that. So I would like to hear kind of the next steps, right? Like, what are those things that you're hoping to have happen over the next 5 to 10 years as a result of you learning all of this stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, it gets a little more philosophical because it's like I've had moments in my life where I got what I thought I was looking for, and it's almost like they always say, like, what's worse than not getting what you want? It's getting what you want, because then you're faced with the horror that it actually doesn't give you what you thought. And so for me, I think the reason the reason we're trying to get to a goal is the way it'll make us feel, at least for me. So I'm trying to like reverse engineer the process and be like, when I reach this place, how is it going to make me feel? And how do I start to engineer that feeling in my daily life? So all that to say, I am talking about starting a company, starting a label. I mean, there are all kinds of ideas in my head, building teams. I know how to do that. But I also, in the same breath, like want to figure out how to enjoy the process more. Because I feel like I'm always like, in a way, living in the future. And I'm like building a house that I never live in. That's just that Enneagram kind of 3 vibes. And so I have a lot of goals, but I'm also trying to be like, in reaching those goals, knowing that they're there, how do I also figure out more how to like enjoy the present while maintaining those goals? Does that make sense? That's honestly my biggest goal right now.
Well, and it sounds like also that you want to continue the knowledge that you can expand into some of these things that will just buy more of that time back.
Absolutely. That's it.
And that's a beautiful thing, that you have the ability to create music that will fuel that in the future, and then buy more of that time back and just continue the process. So there's no telling where that will lead to.
Yeah. And just loving it and loving, anything that I say yes to, I want to be fully into it. I've said no to about 80% of things this year to be able to really, get energy and time to say yes to things I'm like really in. And so that's been a good process.
That's such a wise comment. If you didn't hear that, say no more often to things. right? I think sometimes we feel as a culture that we should be so amendable, if that's the right word there, to the people around us, and constantly try to offer our services and help out. And not that we shouldn't, but man, there's so many times we say yes to things that we don't want to do, and we're not actually adding value to the world that way. And say no more times so that you can say yes to the things that you really can add tremendous value. So last question for you. Tell me about how this plays out for your kids. Tell me about the legacy that this is creating from the things that you've been learning and doing.
Yeah, that's a good question. I hope I'm building a eulogy and not a resume.
Wow.
I hope I'm building, I don't know. I hope the way they see me do all this, that they, one, know that they're more important than it all, but also I hope that, I don't know. I've seen men that work their entire lives, and it's like, oh, he was a good dude because he worked, hard, but then he was a terrible father, whatever. And I hope that in all of this, and they come down to the studio and see what I'm doing, I hope that they see me trying to enjoy the process and take it all in, and also build something, but not have building something be like another idol, So I honestly, I hope I'm going to screw up in a lot of ways, but I hope I'm building some kind of legacy for them.
Well, you can be sure that as they get older, they're going to be paying more and more attention, because I'm just a little bit ahead of you in the kids department, and they pay attention. They pick up a lot more than what we think, and there's no doubt they're seeing a man who is purposeful and thoughtful, and hopefully being able to pass down the same knowledge that you've gained that will help them get even further along as well. So
yeah,
man, it's been a huge treat to have you, and in the mastermind, on the show. And just real quickly, I don't want to miss this opportunity for people to join us in that mastermind. And so if you have interest, if you're an accredited investor, go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/club200, and you can apply to be a part of what we've been talking about today, and seeing some of the same results that Jordan's had as well. So just didn't want to miss that opportunity.
Awesome. Man, Jordan, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It's just a huge pleasure. As Joey said,
you guys.
Always grateful to be with you.
Yeah, you guys too. Anytime. I'm just in my studio, so I'm here all day.
Yeah, if you guys are not watching this, his studio is just not any ordinary studio. You just type in Jordan Critz home and YouTube, and you'll see it is an amazing thing. We're so grateful for you, and so grateful for you to be listening to this. We don't take that for granted, that this podcast exists for you, so that you can hear these same conversations. Joey and I are just the benefactors of having cool conversations, but it's because you're out there, you're demanding that we go and meet these sort of people, find out these sort of opportunities that exist, and even forcing our hand to build masterminds like the Passive Income Mastermind to help other people find what Jordan has been able to find. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for rating and review and sharing the show with friends, because this is what makes it all possible. So have an amazing day. Again, thank you, Jordan, for being on the show.
Thanks, guys.
This has been the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to break free of the Wall Street mindset and begin building wealth on your own terms in places you understand, so that your wealth will never run dry. See you next episode.